If you are planning to write your board exams or the PCEs, the professional competency exams to obtain your CFP certification, your Certified Financial Planner certification soon, then today's episode is going to provide you with excellent information and the truth right from the horse's mouth, because I have spoken to quite a few people, and I think there's this misnomer, in my opinion, that this is going to be so much easier. I'm going to wait until the new assessment guidelines come. Well, we're going to see what Nici has to say about that. So looking forward to be chatting to Nici Macdonald, the head of certification and standards from the FPI this morning. And we're going to get all into this. So if you are busy writing your postgrad in financial planning examinations and sort of the board exams are your next step, this episode is definitely something you do want to watch. So let's get into today's show. Good morning, good morning. As I said that, I was like, geez, man, you need some more energy this morning. So let me crank it up just a little bit. And if some of you are not awake yet, I'm so sorry if I just woke you. But good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode, episode 26 of season 4. And really looking forward to today's discussion with Nici Macdonald. And it's all about the new assessment guidelines and the new way of assessing the board examinations. So I still refer to the board examinations. I know I'm technically incorrect. It's the professional competence examination. We'll find out if the name is going to change, if it's staying the same. But today is going to be very important if you are planning to obtain your CFP certification down the line. So I'm also not alone this morning. Obviously, I'm then joined by Leilani from the FPI doing current affairs and sharing all the latest and greatest news with us, and sometimes not so great, but that's okay, Leilani. And then we've got Norma in the house, and Norma this morning is talking about navigating self-criticism on the path to personal development. And we also then in the house this morning, we have such a full house. We have Igno. So Igno is back this morning from a less called Bloemfontein. I hope Igno, but he's talking about why the best story finders always win. And then I've got a couple of quick announcements, and we're giving away a book. Where's the book? There's the book. So we're giving away the book. So another book from Hendrik Crawford. So today's hashtag is Kraffies. So if you don't know how to spell Kraffies, I will show you a little bit later. But hashtag Kraffies, that will be the hashtag for this morning to stand a chance to win the book at the end of the show. And then I get into the conversation with Nici. So really looking forward to this. Let me say a warm good morning this morning to everybody that has joined us so far. We've got Kobus. Good morning, Kobus. Nice to see you. Yes, definitely. I'm also happy I already have my CFP. Sometimes first mover advantage does help, I think. We've got Terence in the house. Terence, I know you're busy with your postgrad, so definitely something pertinent to you this morning. Good morning, Jonita. It was awesome chatting to you yesterday. We've got Stephen. Good morning. Always nice to see you. Such a gentleman. Then we've got Terence. He's talking to someone else. And click right front. So there we go. Mark, you were in and out. Mark Westenford, good morning, my friend. Good, nice to see you. Shamaine, good morning, good morning. Nice to see you here as well. And we've got Lihana, good morning. Nice to see you. We've got Mr. David Kopp here, who's also very happy that he's got his CFP already, I'm sure. Good morning, Ferdi. Goeiemôre. Hope het gaan goed daar in Bloemfontein. We've got Tinus, good morning. We've got Neil Phillips. We've got Arun. Greg, good morning. We've got Rihanna. Good morning. Sorry, I'm just running through for time's sake. Nkosana, good morning. Nice to see you. Johan Basson, goeiemôre. Gary Nell, it's been a while. Hope you're doing well. So there we go. We've got Salome in the house. Good morning. There we go. So there you can see Ferdi hit hashtag Kraffies. So that's how you spell Kraffies. And if you want to be in the draw. Johan Blumeres, good morning. We've got Yondela, good morning. We've got Yaku and Adrian. Geez, what a full house this morning so early on. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to today's show. Let us get straight into it and head on over to Leilani and hear what the latest news is in and about our amazing profession.
Yes, good morning, Francois and friends. It's wonderful to tune into your show this morning all the way from Eitzig Park in Centurion. So let's kick off with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So in this week, and I'm getting a bit worried with the number of public warnings that are issued, but in this week alone, the Conduct Authority has issued 3 warnings. So the first public warning that was issued was against pro-trade and individuals who are falsely claiming to be representatives of the Conduct Authority. There's also been reports of emails and documents being sent from an email address that is help@za-fsca.com that appears to come from the FSA vouching, where the FSA is vouching for the legitimacy of pro-trades. These emails promise to multiply the initial investment within a few hours, a claim that the FSCA deems unrealistic. The FSA also confirmed that they are not authorized financial services providers, and the FSA mentioned not just pro-trades names, but also Phyllis Rapulu. They are not registered FSCAs, and they are also FSPs, and they're also saying that these parties are not employed by the Conduct Authority. The second public warning is where the public is cautioned about a fraudulent WhatsApp and Facebook scam. Now you'll see the threat coming through with these warnings. A lot of social media platforms are being used. So WhatsApp and a Facebook scam that is pulled off by individuals claiming to represent Julius Baer South Africa. Now, Julius Baer obviously said that these people are not part of them and that they're not running any WhatsApp or Facebook notifications at this point in time. And Julius Baer also emphasized that it does not provide loans in South Africa through any third parties. So the FSA again is warning you against that. Third public warning comes from to the public is where a Telegram group. Now, remember, Telegram is the one that's almost like WhatsApp, that's being misused in the name of Fairtree Asset Management, in short, Fairtree. The Telegram group unlawfully exploits Fairtree's name to deceive potential clients into investing into cryptocurrencies with unrealistic returns. So Fairtree, a legitimate FSP, confirms that it's got no affiliation with this group. The FSA also confirmed that the Telegram group operates without authorization. So you'll always find that the FSCA will end these public warnings with details how you can contact the FSCA to verify whether somebody is an authorized financial services provider in South Africa. Then a notification that came out from Catherine Gibson on the 14th of August is around Section 37C of the Pension Funds Act. So the FSCA is about to issue a new interpretation ruling of Section 37C of the Pension Funds Act. For international guests online, maybe Section 37C high level basically deals with the distribution of death benefits from retirement funds in South Africa. So the FSA has announced its intention to issue a new interpretation ruling on the distribution of retirement funds upon a member's death, replacing IR 1 of 2020. The new ruling addresses the incorrect inclusion of unclaimed benefits within the ambit of Section 37C. Now, unclaimed benefits are already due and payable to the fund member, and its payment is not depending on any other event like the member's death, for instance. So the new IR clarifies that Section 37C does not apply to unclaimed benefits. I did distribute that notice or the interpretation regulation this morning, via the FPI community. Then in closing, Fransha, I'm sure all the members online have seen this. FPI will have in-person engagement sessions in September and October, all the way from Pretoria to Polokwane. So we really look forward to our members joining us. All you have to do is to go to events on www.fpi.coza and register for the membership engagement session in your area. And this year, you will be able to earn 1 point FX CBD point because we will be covering high-level regulatory updates as well. And then also share a glass of wine with some of your peers that you maybe haven't seen in quite a few months. So look out for that. CIMA's also distributed it. We've sent an email and it's on our website. And it's the last week to register for the upcoming retirement and investment online workshop. With that, it's a wrap up, and I wish you a blessed weekend, Francois. Goodbye.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Lalani. Yes, the last networking sessions I went to was quite enjoyable. I really enjoyed it, and looking forward to that. And then, yeah, we've got quite a few of those things coming up. So I see people are busy. And so looking forward to sort of seeing everybody in these different places. So next up, we have Norma. And as I said, Norma's going to be talking about navigating self-criticism on the path to personal development, something that is a critical part, and understanding like when is something true, I would say, and when is something just like it's stuff we make up for ourselves, it's stuff we tell ourselves all the time. And we're so critical about ourselves, and really looking forward to what Norma has got to share this morning.
Good morning. So glad to be back. I have a great topic for you today. The title, Navigating Self-Criticism on this Path to Personal Development. So I think this is something that maybe a lot of us struggle with, that self-criticism. But I think it also has this negative connotation to it. And I think, it's something that, we have misconceptions about. And I think if we use it to its full potential, then we can use it as a self-awareness tool and also to grow into our future. So I want to give you the advantages of self-criticism today. So I want to start by telling you what it's not. It's not harsh. It is not something that breaks us down, and it's not something that I do that makes me feel less than. It is definitely something that builds me up, that inspires me, that encourages me, and that improves, helps me improve going forward. It is something that I can use to improve my competency and better, become proficient at certain things. So did you know that criticism, according to a dictionary, has a lot of similarities or synonyms for that specific word? It is things like assessment, like evaluation, like examine, or remarks, or observations, or comments. So those are really words that I like to use when I talk about self-criticism. Now, why am I the best person to actually then criticize, or in this case, assess? So I think we are all so unique. We're unique individuals, we have unique lives, we have unique businesses, relationships, all of those things. Also, I know that I know myself the best. I know what my limitations are and what my potential is. And I can also see and acknowledge, where I've come from, what was my mistakes in the past, what lessons did I learn. But also I can see my wins. I can also see my strengths and my weaknesses. I can see my areas of improvement, and I can see those areas that I'm really good and that I've succeeded in. I also take into account when I assess myself, what is my values, what is my priorities, and what is my competency level in that thing that I'm assessing. And I also take into account where I started, my progress up until now, where I am now, and where I want to go to. So I'm the best person, I'm really the most qualified person to do that assessment. Now, let's say we want to transform this self-criticism and see it, not as a burden, but see it as a beacon. Then we turn this self-criticism into self-assessment rather. So here are a couple of ideas that I have. So firstly, when we assess ourselves, let's check in with ourselves. How do I feel when I have done that assessment? Do I feel less than? Do I feel I want to quit? Do I feel less worthy? Because that in itself is an assessment. As I've mentioned, the purpose of this is to really improve and become more competent and more proficient. Now, the second thing we can do is when we assess, we actually see that autonomy in our lives. We see the power that we have. We see that we can take responsibility and that we can make our own decisions, that we are a person that, and now as an adult, we have agency over our lives. Now, this self-assessment is a space, and it's a safe space. We can give ourselves feedback where we can grow and we can, reach that full potential. Also, when we self-assess, we can set our own bar. So instead of other people telling us, assessing us according to their standards, we can assess ourselves according to our standards. So it's not like when we compare ourselves to other people, but really like set our own bar, because if we would compare, we can only be as good as, or maybe a little bit better than someone else. When we assess ourselves and we set our own bar, then we can reach our full potential. Also, it's to be mindful about how we assess. So not just assess myself in the situation. I mean, when I might feel that deflated at the moment that I maybe didn't succeed at something, I want to take my time to skillfully assess. Now, that brings me to the next point, which is write down that assessment. So I want to look at whatever I'm evaluating, and I want to write down what worked really well. And what I do is I want to write down at least 10 things that I did really well. And I'm not going to stop writing until I've come to that 10 points. So what I did well and what I want to change, because assessing is about seeing what I did, what didn't work, and that I want to change. And then, assessing, seeing what I want to go and do in my future. And then the last point is celebrate. Just celebrate how far I've come, all the hard things that I've done, how I showed up to challenges, when I didn't maybe feel like it, when it was inconvenient for me, when it was hard. So I think self-criticism, or as I want to call it, self-assessment, is really, I think, an act of self-love. I acknowledge myself, and I also acknowledge my potential. It's like that painter that paints and then walks away from the canvas. That's what I want to do with assessment. I want to look at my life and, obviously operate in my life, then take a step back and sort of look at it from a new perspective. And then I want to see my actions, and I want to sort of look at it with clarity and get insight from it. And then when I step forward with purpose. So that's what I have for you regarding self-criticism and what I like to call it self-assessment. I'll be back next week. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Norma. And that was a fantastic session. I've got goosebumps. It's like you had nitro for coffee this morning. So amazing. Thank you for all the insights. Thank you for everything you do. We really appreciate it. Right, next up is Igno, and the storyteller master himself is going to talk to us a little bit about why the people win that find the best stories, basically. But he's going to do it in the Igno way that only Igno can do. So with that, let's head on over to Bloemfontein to hear from Igno.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a lovely Friday. I heard two magnificent stories over the past month or two, and they made me realize what makes a good story. And I want to share that with you, because when we do planning for our clients, we're actually digging into their story, but it's about finding the defining moments. And that's what a good advisor does. And that's why I say the good story finders win. It's not the good storytellers. They come with their own stories and they tell you their story and they convince you of things. But when you go on a journey with a client, it's about finding the defining moment. Now, one of the stories that I heard was told by Toast Kutzer. He takes photographs for the Weg magazine. And he was telling the story about going out on the ocean, and they went off away from an island where they were staying. And then they overheard the people. They were in these little rubber duck boats. And they overheard the people riding these boats, or the people in charge, talking to each other in their own language. And he could sense a bit of panic. And he asked what was going on. And they said, well, the wind has turned and we're going to have to go back to the island very quickly. And then, long story short, I mean, he tells a beautiful story, but it's these huge waves. And he's talking about the person who was in charge of their little rubber duck. And he says he was a jovial, wonderful, kind of sociable fellow. And at some stage, they moving into one of these big waves. And this guy always had his cap turned backwards. As you can almost see the character. And he said, and when they went into one of those waves, the only thing that happened, this person turned his cap forward. And Toast said, that's when he realized this is serious business. And it's that moment, that one little seemingly insignificant moment, which very few people would have picked up on, which Toast picked, and said, this is when the story happened. This is when he saw character, and when he saw story, and he saw plot, and he realized this is serious. Now, why do I tell that story? Because it's about those moments that we have to find for clients. Everybody knows what a story is about. It's about characters moving forward, having conflict, those kinds of things. And in the industry, we've actually determined that the conflict will happen. 5 problems in life: living too soon, dying too young, becoming disabled, living too long, dying too young, becoming disabled, being hospitalized. But the really good story finder will go into the client's life, will go on that journey and find these moments, which are not on the maps, on the charts. They're always there. We always have to provide for them. But my concern is, what do you see when you work with your clients? You see, but this person needs this and needs more of that. And story finding is about seeing the things which no one else will see. So it's beyond the F&A. And in order to be a great story finder, you have to listen to stories. And I'm just going to say something about stories. For a very long time in my life, more than 15 years, I think, I had to write little articles for a newspaper. And it culminated in this book, Die Geraas van Visse. But every weekend, on a Saturday morning, I'd sit and I had to write about something that happened. And I thought, but nothing happened this week. But the moment that you start thinking, it says, but this and this happened. And then you make a story out of it. You drop the kids off at school. It's a hero's journey. You dodged potholes. There were other people. There were all kinds of things happening, cars coming to you. And all of a sudden it becomes a hero's journey. A simple, seemingly insignificant thing like a person turning his hat. So what am I trying to tell you today? I'm asking you, I'm begging you to, whenever you've seen a client, to reflect and say, what might I have missed over here? What's the real story? And how can I turn this story into an epic story? Because that's what we are. We are not necessarily storytellers. We tell stories to improve stories. And I want you to take your clients from a normal, average life story to something fabulous, to a mythical journey. And hopefully that's your vision, to say, because I'm your advisor, because I'm your guide, your life's going to be different. Not only your finances, your life. Because as you are here, you're not only a storyteller, you're a story finder. And once you find the story, you take the story forward and you make it something magnificent. Have a lovely weekend.
Amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Igno. Very insightful. And thank you very much for everything you do and all the prep and all the amazing stories and all the amazing ideas that you share with the propulsion community. So thank you so much. All right, next up, some quick announcements. Alrighty, so first one is, if you want to win the book, you've got to comment hashtag Cruffies. At the moment, if I have a quick look, we've got 15 of you in the draw. Shows that there's like 44, 45 people live online at the moment. So if you want to stand a chance to win this amazing book written by our very own Hendrik Crawford, I went to some of his sessions recently. I know some of you have gone to the sessions. What a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal insight. And the way that he integrates coaching into financial planning is just amazing. So if you want to get the book, and we'll send it off to you for free and for nothing, all you need to do is comment hashtag Cruffies in the live chat, and then we'll do a draw right at the end. Alrighty, so then there's a few things that I want to share with you. Very first thing is, time is now running out at a massive speed and a massive pace for the upcoming summit, which is taking place next week. If you can't make it, you can still get a ticket and see the recordings, because the recordings are available for 2 weeks after. So don't let that be an excuse not to be part of this and not to see this amazing content and agenda that we've put together. So on that note, let me sort of just quickly run you through the agenda. First up, we've got Chris Budd, and he's going to be talking about why our advice is making clients unhappy, or rather that's changed a little bit. I should actually have updated that. It's saying how our advice is making our clients unhappy. So that's going to be the kickoff. Had a great meeting with all the keynote speakers yesterday. So really, really excited for what they are going to be sharing. Then after that, we have a panel discussion that I will be moderating. We've got Johan Bester from Advice Tech, who's one of the sponsors. We've got Robin Clay, who is from Link Tank, and Adam Carolan, all the way from the UK. He looks after tech stack and strategy at NextGen. And we're going to be talking about CRM, and that's going to be a very insightful discussion, very practical. And we want to shine the spotlight on what happens when you use CRM in the right way and it becomes CRM and not a curse word at the end. So we are going to be doing that. Then next up, we've got Georgina Smith, and she's going to be talking about hyper-personalization in financial planning, a real game changer. So really looking forward to that session from Georgina. She has shared quite a few interesting things yesterday, so I'm so excited for that. And she's a phenomenal speaker as well. Then there's some breaks and stuff in between, but then we head off to choosing your own adventure, where you can choose which of these next two panel discussions you want to attend. We do record the other one. Well, we'll record both of them, so you can always go back and watch the recording of the one you missed. So don't worry, you won't be missing out on anything, but they will be running at the same time. So the first one is giving advice abroad. I will again be facilitating that panel discussion, and we've got the phenomenal Hugo van Sail on that. We've got Matthijs Breuers-Low, who's also fantastic, and then Vincent Hayes, all the way from Canada, or Canada, as it's supposed to be pronounced. But we're going to be talking about giving advice abroad and giving some real practical insights. Then the other option, option 2, is one on practice management and why is my business not growing and how to fix it. Excuse me. So we've got Rob McDonald from Fundhouse, who's phenomenal. We've got Grant Newland-Nell, who's phenomenal. Like, all these people are just phenomenal. And also, I would say, our very own David Kopp. David has been a part of this show for so long in the past, and also in everything else we do. But David will also be part of that discussion, and Adam Owen will be facilitating that discussion. So be sure of some very interesting questions and discussions that will take place. Then after the next break, after that, we've got another panel discussion, and that is on how much is my business really worth. We've got Glenda Labuskaghni, who's from Broker Space, one of the sponsors. We've got Ian McMaster, who is from FS4P, and also Mandy Murphy from Old Mutual Wealth, also one of the sponsors. And we'll be talking about how much is my business really worth, but it's not just about how do I determine that. There's so many other things that we're getting into. And again, Adam will be facilitating that session. And then we're going to close off the day on a, excuse me. No, I have a cough in the biggest moment of them all. Daniel Priestley. So Daniel will be joining us, talking about key person of influence. How do you become one? Why is it important? And practical stuff that you can do over the next 12 months. So really looking forward to having him close off the day for us. So it's been approved for 5 CPD points, or I should say up to 5 CPD points, because all the live sessions and that option that you choose gives you 4.5 points. If you then go and watch the recording for the one you didn't watch, you can earn an additional half CPD points. So you can get up to 5, a minimum of 4.5 if you attend everything. But otherwise we adjust depending on your attendance. Right. So that's the summit. So that's a big one, obviously. So 595 Rand is the tickets. So please go and get them. You can still get them. They'll be available until Monday. So do go get that. We're starting to send out the links today, and we will ask you, come and join us. If you're a Propulsion member, so you're paying to be part of the community, and you're part of Propulsion, then you should just still go and register. You don't pay to attend; it's all included in your membership. So either become a member or go purchase your ticket and come and enjoy an amazing day virtual with us. It's completely live. We don't use any recordings or any of that. So go that. All the detail are down below, the agenda and all of that stuff you can find below. So do join us. Right. So let me step off of that. The next sort of session that's coming up in September, we will send out some information, but I'm doing a masterclass on the 2-part system with everything we know at this very point in time. So we've integrated everything from all the discussions and all the previous sessions and all the updates and all the things. This is exclusive for Propulsion members. So if you're not a Propulsion member, you won't have access to this, but you can become a member and obviously join us for this session. So the 2-part system masterclass, definitely something to join us for. I've presented so much on this now that, we managed to put something amazing together. And there's going to be a 2-hour masterclass. So it's proper, including CPD, all of that stuff. And then the last one is the paid for. Remember, there was that waitlist for the WhatsApp marketing masterclass. That is going to be a paid for session, but that's open to everyone. We already announced the date So we did send that out to everybody that is on the wait list. I'm not going to announce that right here because it is exclusive first for people on the wait list. So we give them first chance. But those, the registrations for that opens on Wednesday next week, so the 23rd. And we've also had phenomenal sessions. We've had several bookings from several corporates to come and present this to groups, etc. So it's really something that has immense value from that point. Alrighty, so then last thing from me, I don't know what the heck I did with it. There you go. If you enjoy what we do and you value, please like this video. Please share this with others. Please tell others about it. And then hit that subscribe button here on YouTube to help us grow. We've been growing steadily over the last 3 years, and I really appreciate that. It costs nothing to subscribe. It's just simply that we know that you value what we do, and it does help us get more guests and guests from all over the world onto the show. That's one thing that they do look at. So do help us with that. And apart from that, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you watching. And next up, I have Nici, and we're going to talk all about the new assessment approach. It's not a process. It's just changing the way we assess. But we're going to talk about that. So Nici, I hope you're ready for me, because here we go. Oh, it would help if I bring Nici onto the screen. Good morning, Nici. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Francois. Very good, thank you. Glad that the winter is lifting a little bit, so I start feeling like a person again.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't even switched on the fireplace for the whole week, so that is very weird, because I've been burning wood at a rate of, like, I probably have done the environment no good in the last few weeks. But yeah, Nici, warm welcome. Just for those that don't know Nici, Nici is the head of certification and standards at the Financial Planning Institute. Phenomenal lady. I have the privilege to work a lot with her, and obviously here on the show as well. But I really like the way that, where thinking is going and how we're trying to sort of make sure that we uphold standards, but also then that we introduce new ways of doing things. So that's very important. And, it's at the end of the day, that's really what we want, right? We don't want and this is just my own personal opinion, by the way. This has got nothing to do with the FPI thinks. They'll probably put a disclaimer somewhere. But it is absolutely very important that we have high standards for CFP certification, because otherwise it won't mean anything in a few years. And going through the process, I think there's been a lot of issues. And Nici, I want to sort of start off with this is probably, why are you looking at changing this? And then we'll get into some of the things, but I guess there's two main things that we'll get to. The one thing is, how does it impact existing CFP professionals? And then on the other hand, what is the impact on future CFP professionals? So we'll get into that. But first of all, when we start talking about the PCEs, the professional competency examination, the board examinations, that exam that we need to write to be able to be certified as a certified financial planner professional, why are we looking at changing that process?
Thank you very much, Francois. And I think the first thing I have to say before we get into any of this is that the existing certified financial planners who are in good standing with FPI will not be affected by this. So if you were worried about that, you can breathe carefully again. We have heard over the last week or two that there's rumors doing the rounds that we're going to make all the existing CFP members rewrite their examinations, and that is absolutely not the truth. These changes are just for future candidates who are going to go through the CFP pathway to be assessed in a different manner. So if we look at why we're changing the process and what the reasoning behind it is, and I think it's important to understand that FPI has not decided on this because Lani thought I needed more work to do. We are an affiliate. The Financial Planning Institute is an affiliate of the Financial Planning Standards Board in the US. Now, who are they? They own the CFP mark outside of the US, and we are affiliated to them. And we are licensed to award the CFP designation in South Africa to people who qualify through the criteria that we set. Now, having said that, that means that we have to abide by the global standards as well as the global certification regulations that is set by the Financial Planning Standards Board. Now, over the last few years, we all know that our profession is fairly young. In South Africa, the first formal qualifications in financial planning was only developed in the beginning of the 90s, and then it steadily grew from there. Before that, ILPA was just a competency examination. It was not a formal qualification. And we evolved over the years, both through developing the curriculum, but also in changing the way that the assessment of certified financial planners entering the profession was done. And this is not new. I mean, we have evolved in financial planning from, if you just look at the new global standards that came out, from let's do a calculation, Mr. Client, and I'm telling you what to do, straight through to where we are now looking at how important things like coaching is, how important the human element of financial planning is. So, and including that into the curriculum going forward, the psychology of financial planning. So there's a big move towards the human side. If we look at how technology has changed over the last 40 years and how important that has become in financial planning, then you're also dealing with the skills that your financial planners have to have in order to be able to do the job of a financial planner in these days and ages. So financial planning is an ever evolving area of study, and the progression from where we started 40 years ago to where we are today is staggering. And it's not just there the changes have taken place. It is also in the way that assessment has been approached globally over the years. So FPSB has adopted an extra step into their assessment process, which includes the completion of a financial plan. Now, FPI and many of the other territories who has not included the financial plan assessment in our certification processes yet, now have until the end of 2024 to make sure that that is included in our certification pathway. So it is international trends that are influencing us and international criteria so that we can ensure that we train our financial planners and our financial advisors and assess them in the manner that is prescribed on a global level. But it's also really to make it a little bit more practical and to ensure that we don't test in the same manner for the same skills that are ever evolving. So it's a long answer to a short question, Francois, but that's why we're doing it.
I did take a long time to set it up, so it's fine, Nici. I think it's important. So one question that comes up for me is like, does this mean that there's going to be international alignment around the approach to assessing? So whether you're being assessed in Australia or the US or the UK, the assessment methodology will be the same, although the content will be different because it's based on your own legislation and regulations and things like that. But the approach to the assessment, will that be a global standard for all the affiliates?
To a certain point, yes. So there are certain regulations that we have to abide by. So we have to run an exam in some format that tests the academic knowledge. There has to be and there has to be a financial plan, and then you're also sitting with a qualification requirement, you have an experience requirement, and you have an ethics requirement. Now, what the Financial Planning Standards Board is prescribing is the holistic requirements. How we implement it really depends on what the what your environment looks like. So, for example, and when we get to it, we are very much involved with the universities that offer the postgraduate diplomas in financial planning, as well as UJ, who offer the BCom honors in financial planning. And we work very closely together with them in a partnership. Also, we only have 7 education providers in South Africa currently offering those qualifications. So yeah, it is very easy for us to take hands with the universities and include them in our assessment process. Where in the US, where they're sitting with, I think, 300 or 400 education providers, something like that would not maybe be as easy to manage. So what we do is we've taken what they prescribe we need to do. We've looked at the South African situation, our environment, what our candidates need, what our employers need, because you must remember that these CFPs will walk into a a young new CFP will walk into a new workplace, and that employer will expect something of him, and which they don't always reach, and that is or the expectations are not always met, and that is one of the things that we took into account when we developed this process. So there are various options, but in the end, whether you are a CFP in South Africa or in the US or in the UK or in Australia, you would have gone through all these assessment tools in some way, shape, or form to get to the designation being awarded to you.
Brilliant stuff. So let me get to the big questions straight before we delve a little bit into more of the detail and what's changing exactly. But I've heard a few people, in fact, I was in an office recently where somebody did make an appearance, and then they said, like, oh yeah, the people in the office are saying like, oh no, they're going to wait. They're not going to do their board exams now because it's going to be so much easier going forward. And, I think that rumor spreads quite quickly. And my question to is this actually going to make it easier for people to pass the board exams?
No, Francois, unequivocally, no. I think one of the most important things, and I mean, I am a CFP, you are a CFP, we worked very, very hard to get where we are and to keep our designations intact. And I think it would be a travesty if we made it easier just to have people entering the profession. That is not what this is about. We are still going to test everything that we used to test in the old regime, like we are doing now with the professional competency examinations. We're still going to test everything, and we're going to test a few added extra skills that we do not test currently. But I can promise you that it is not going to be easier to pass this process than it is currently to pass the professional competency examination. And when we chat about how the financial plan component is going to be included in this process, I'm going to use an example of what we saw now in the June exams versus how that specific problem that we're currently seeing in the assessment process will not be, you will not be able to pass this financial plan easier just because, you think it's going to be easier. It's not going to be. It's going to be different. It's not going to be easier.
Yeah. Let's quickly chat through the current certification framework and sort of what that looks like. So let me sort of bring that onto the screen. Let's chat a little bit. This is how the framework currently works, right?
Yes, that is, we call the components the 4 E's. Now, we're not going to deviate from that. I think it's easy to understand. So we're going to stick to the 4 E's. The first one is your education component. I'm not going to go into too much detail, Frans. So there's a very comprehensive webinar on FPI's website under the studio that people can go and look at, or they can phone us if they need, detail on all the nitty gritty. But I'm just going to talk about the main focus of this. So under education, currently, you have to obtain an NQF8 diploma or degree at one of our approved education providers. So that is your postgrad diploma in financial planning. Once you've done that, you can come to us and you can come and sit for the board exam. And I know we call it the PCE, but everybody still speaks about the board exam. So you have to pass the board exam. At FPI, it's a 100-mark case study, and you have to obtain 60% in order to pass this examination. The third component is experience. We expect of you when you apply that you have got 3 years worth of relevant financial planning experience before we will allow you to become a CFP professional. Or there's a mentorship program that some of our candidates follow quite successfully, but that includes, once again, an assessment of a portfolio of evidence and a CFP that supervises you. And someone told me the other day that this program is quite onerous, and yes, it is, because this is what we expect from our certified financial planners. And the fourth one is the ethics component, which is, of course, the fact that you have to be fit and proper, and that you have to sign our ethics declaration, and that you have to abide by the code of ethics that is set by the FPI. Now, I can tell you that the experience and the ethics components will not be changing going forward. That is staying intact as is, but it's your education and your examination components where there's going to be a little bit of a change from 1st Jan 2025. So
Oh, what is changing? Sorry, I'm on mute.
Okay,
What
I
is
saw
changing?
that. Thank you. But I was just going to carry on. Thank you, Francois. So what we're going to do is we have really looked that if you want to assess the entire competency framework of a certified financial planner, you have to look at, and I see Frank as nailed it in the comments. You have to look at knowledge, but you also have to look at skills and abilities. And if you go and look at the global standards for financial planners that was issued by the Financial Planning Standards Board in April this year, everything is integrated. You can't really test the one without the other. So we have to make sure that across our assessment process, we don't necessarily duplicate the testing of one area, but we make sure we integrate all areas of testing in different manners. So what we are going to do is from the end of next year, we're scrapping the PCE in its current format at the FPI. And we're taking that PCE and we're moving it back to the universities so that you don't write two examinations that basically look the same. Now, what is the difference between what the universities are doing now in the integrated case study and what will happen in future is that FPI will be involved as an external moderator when those papers are drafted. So we will make sure that those papers meet the requirements that are set by FPI. We will look at the content, we will look at the standard, we will make sure that it aligns with our curriculums, and there's a certain formula that FPI prescribes that is linked to the job analysis survey that we've done. So it's linked to what financial planners do on an everyday basis. So we will make sure at university level that those standards are met. So we're going to call that the standard setting exam, which means that your first tick mark on examination will already be completed at university level. This standard setting exam will give you access to FPI's capstone course. This is a new course. We will be piloting it next year. So we will invite certain of our members to come and do the course with us to give commentary on it and to see how this will work. But our capstone course is going to be a practical course, and I have now learned this academic knowledge. I now want to apply it in practice. And how do I do that? We have got Wessel Oosthuizen developing the course for us. So I think you will also know that is, it's going to be brilliant when it's done. We will then look at how do I present to my client? How do I put the financial plan together? How do I take the psychology into consideration when I develop my plan? How do I make sure that my plan meets the needs of the client in every single area of financial planning? This capstone course will be 8 to 10 weeks. You'll earn CPD for it. It will also be open as for our existing members as a refresher if they want to do that. And after they've completed this capstone course, these candidates that are now coming through the pathway, we will be giving them a case study. Once again, it will look like the case studies that you're writing exams on now. So we will give you a client and we will then tell you, okay, you have to develop a financial plan. Obviously, that we will prescribe the requirements, what we want the financial plan to look at, how we want, what it has to include, and you will then have a certain amount of time to give us the financial plan back. We will assess, and once again, you'll have to earn a 60% to achieve a competency rate. And this is where I wanted to come in with we're not making this easier. We are looking at how some of the other affiliates who've included this financial plan already have approached this to learn from them, because they've made mistakes that we can just learn from. And I've seen what the rubrics look like for those financial plans and how they are assessed in certain of the other I think India's, for example, is extremely comprehensive. And I can promise you that if you do not apply your mind and ensure that this plan is of a standard that we expect of a certified financial planner, and that is not a tick box compliance standard, it is much higher, you will not be able to pass this exam any easier than you would have passed the professional competency exam.
Brilliant. And is there specific dates? Because obviously now probably some of the questions in people's minds will be, okay, but Do I wait? Do I continue with what on my journey now? What do I do? What are the timelines and things for this? I know you've mentioned a few, when the capstone course is coming, etc., etc. But by when? So what should I be doing by when, or what are my options today until this change happens, and all of that, Nici?
Okay, so there are a definite cutoff date. The PCE in its current format will run until the end of 2024. So everybody who obtained their postgraduate diploma or their BCom Honours in Financial Planning from one of our recognized education providers in 2023 or earlier, who have not sat for the PCE yet, or have sat for the PCE and not passed it, will have until the end of 2024 to pass the professional competency examination, because on the 1st of Jan 2025, we're switching over to the new certification standards, and we're not going to run the PCE and the capstone course and financial plan at the same time. So we'll be stopping the PCE, and you will then fall into the new requirements. Now, to ensure that we give enough time for people to pass this exam, if they choose to do the current examination, we still have September this year that is still open for registration. It is the 21st and 22nd, but we will run 4 examinations during the course of next year. So there'll be enough time for people to try and pass this exam. Our pass rates are between 35 and 49% over the year normally. So there's going to be a few people that will probably have to try more than once to pass the examination. So we're giving them enough time for that. Everybody who's going to obtain their qualification from next year onward will automatically fall into the new regime, because we are working with the universities already, and we will be involved in the assessments from 2024 onwards. The only thing that people who have obtained the qualification 2003 and before have to remember, that if they choose to do the new capstone course and financial plan, is the fact that we did not standard set your examination that you wrote at the university at that point. Therefore, FPI did not independently assess your academic, because the test at the university is actually the knowledge component that gets tested. So we did not independently test your knowledge component. So for those candidates, if they choose not to sit for the PCE but wait until 2025, there will be an extra step, which will be a 50-mark multiple choice knowledge component exam that will be hosted by FPI that you will have to complete. So it's absolutely your choice. If you want to sit for the PCE before the end of 2024, you can do that in any of the 5 sittings we've got left, or you can choose to do the capstone course and then the financial plan if you fall into the 2023 and pre-2023 cohort. But there will be an extra step in there, which will be the knowledge component examination.
Awesome. Nici, if people want more information and more in-depth things around this, the nitty-gritty for those analytics among us, where can they find that?
Yes, so there is a webinar available on the FPI website. If you go to the studio, there's quite a comprehensive webinar available. If you have any other questions, you're very welcome to phone FPI and speak to any of our membership consultants or certification. We are all waiting for your calls, because everybody is very excited about this. And then you can email us at certification@fpi.co.za, and we will get someone to chat to you about the changes and how it's going to affect you. But Francois, I really want to say that we are very excited about the changes. We think it's going to be extremely relevant. We have never tested whether our certified financial planners can actually do a financial plan. And that is one of the things that the employers have spoken to us about. And I think it is going to add a lot of value to the process in order to make sure that someone can actually do the job of a financial planner when they have passed through this assessment.
Which is the ultimate aim of this, right? It's not about passing the exam. It's about being able to do the job properly and really make a change in the world and impact clients. I think that's if that's the mindset and that's the focus, then, and this supports that, because I think often we've seen before, like take, I'll say this, RE exams, for example, where it's like, what has this got to do with the job I'm doing? Like, you know, how many times have we heard that comment? And exactly that, it is a crucial component that, you know, you need to know the rules of the game, but this is now where it becomes very practical. So I wish you well for this journey, and whatever we can do to support that as well and get the message out and answer questions for people, we're also happy to do that, Nici. But thank you very much for spending your time with us this morning and sharing this information. It's so important, and I wish you well and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you so much, Francois, for the opportunity. FPI is always happy to partner up with Propulsion on things like this.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Alrighty, so now it is time for us to give away a book. And let me bring that up on screen so you can all see what is happening. So hashtag Croffies with 2 Fs if you haven't done that yet. We're going to be doing the draw. And this is the amazing book that you can win. I'll send it off to you, and it'll be delivered to your door, I believe. Fantastic. So let's do that. Let's see. We've got 23 people in the draw, and who will be getting the applause today? So let's see. Let me just get my applause ready, because otherwise nobody's getting an applause. And today's winner is Stephen Fish. Fantastic, Mr. Fish. Look at that, all the way in Plettenberg Bay. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it, and for being part of what it is that we do. So well done, Stephen. I think I will obviously send you a message to get some of the details to deliver this. But on that note, ladies and gents, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for being part of what it is that we do. We want to wish you all the best. Have a fantastic weekend. Be blessed and prosper. And of course, continue to raise the bar and go get your summer ticket. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Love you. Bye-bye.